The champagne glass shattered across the dance floor, the exact moment the old woman touched the bride's face. Music stopped. Conversations died. Every eye in the ballroom turned toward Emma, as the stranger stood inches away from her, trembling fingers pressed gently against her cheek. "You have her eyes," the woman whispered. Emma's smile disappeared instantly, because her mother had been dead for 26 years. Or at least, that was what she had believed her entire life. Across the room, Emma's father suddenly went pale, not shocked, terrified. "Get away from her!" Victor shouted, as he pushed through guests so aggressively that someone nearly fell into a table. "Security!" The old woman stepped back slowly, tears filling her eyes. "She waited so long for this day," she said softly. Emma felt chills crawl down her arms. The woman looked at her like she knew her, like she loved her, like she had spent years searching for her. And for some reason, Emma felt connected to her too. Before security could reach her, the woman turned toward the exit. Then she stopped one final time. "She never stopped loving you, Emma." And then she disappeared into the night. If this story shocks you by the end, make sure you subscribe right now, because what Emma discovers 3 days later changes her life forever. The wedding reception never recovered after that moment. The music returned eventually. People tried dancing again, but the energy in the room was dead. Emma couldn't stop staring at her father. Victor stood near the bar gripping a whiskey glass so tightly his knuckles looked white. Daniel leaned close to Emma. "Your dad looks like he's about to have a heart attack." Emma forced a laugh. "I've never seen him act like that before." "Did you know that woman?" "No." But even as she said it, something inside her felt uncertain. Later that night, after most guests left, Emma found Victor outside near the valet station smoking alone. He never smoked. "Dad," Victor immediately straightened himself. "You should be inside." "Who was that woman?" His jaw tightened instantly. "She's mentally unstable." "She knew my name. She probably found it online. She said Mom waited for this day." Victor looked away. "Dad." "Emma, let it go." "No." His voice hardened. "I said let it go." Emma froze. Victor rarely raised his voice at her, but tonight wasn't normal. Nothing about tonight felt normal anymore. Back at the hotel suite, Daniel loosened his tie, while Emma sat silently at the edge of the bed. "You okay?" She touched my face, and I swear, Emma swallowed hard. I swear it felt familiar. Daniel sat beside her carefully. "What do you remember about your mom?" "Almost nothing." "Nothing?" Emma shook her head slowly. "Just little pieces. A smell, maybe. Someone singing. That's it." Daniel frowned. "Don't you think it's weird your father never talks about her?" Emma stared down at her wedding ring. "When I was younger, I used to ask questions all the time. He'd either leave the room or get angry. That's not normal." "I know." Around 2 a.m., Emma woke suddenly. The other side of the bed was empty. She heard movement outside the hotel balcony doors. At first, she assumed it was Daniel, but when she pulled the curtain aside, her stomach dropped. Victor stood alone outside in the courtyard below, burning something. Emma narrowed her eyes. Photographs. The fire flickered across his face, while he fed picture after picture into the flames. Her heartbeat quickened. She quietly slipped out of the room. By the time she reached the courtyard, Victor was gone. But something remained near the edge of the fire pit. A partially burned photograph. Emma picked it up carefully. The edges crumbled between her fingers. And then she saw it. Her mother. Young. Smiling. Standing beside Victor. And beside them, the old woman from the wedding. Emma's breathing stopped. At the bottom corner was a printed date, 4 years after her mother supposedly died. "What the hell?" Suddenly, footsteps echoed behind her. Emma spun around. Victor stood there frozen. For a second, neither of them spoke. Then Victor walked forward quickly and snatched the photograph from her hand. "You shouldn't be down here." Emma stared at him in disbelief. Mom was alive. Victor's face darkened instantly. "You're tired. That picture was dated 4 years later. You saw it wrong." "No, I didn't." Victor stepped closer. "Emma, listen to me very carefully. Some things from the past are dangerous." "Dangerous?" "That woman showing up tonight changes nothing." "You lied to me." His voice dropped low. "You don't understand what your mother became." Emma felt her chest tighten. "What does that mean?" Victor looked away again, and that scared her more than anything. "Go upstairs," he said quietly. Then he walked away. The next morning, Victor canceled brunch with family and left the hotel early without explanation. Emma watched his car disappear through the rain. Daniel stood beside her, holding 2 coffees. "That confirms it." "Confirms what?" "He's hiding something." Emma rubbed her temples. "I don't even know what to think anymore." For the next 3 days, she barely slept. The old woman's words replayed constantly inside her head. "She never stopped loving you." Emma started searching through old family boxes stored in her apartment closet, but there were barely any pictures of her mother. No videos, no letters, nothing personal. It suddenly felt strange. How could someone exist and leave behind almost nothing? On the 3rd day, the doorbell rang. Emma opened the door expecting food delivery. Instead, a large weathered box sat outside. No shipping label, no sender name, just one word written across the top. "Emma." Daniel carried it inside carefully. "You expecting this?" Emma shook her head slowly. Something felt wrong immediately, almost heavy. Not physically, emotionally. Daniel opened the lid first. Inside were dozens of old envelopes tied together with faded ribbon. Underneath them sat photographs, cassette tapes, medical documents, and one VHS tape. Emma picked up the top envelope with shaking hands. The front read, "For Emma's 10th birthday." Her breathing grew uneven. "No." She opened it slowly. Inside was a handwritten letter. "Happy birthday, sweetheart. I hope you still draw pictures like you used to. I still remember the little birds you painted for me. I miss you every single day. Love always." Mom Emma burst into tears instantly. Daniel looked horrified. "Oh my God." "There's more," Emma whispered. They opened another, and another. Age 11, age 12, age 13. Every single birthday, every year of Emma's life. Her mother had written to her constantly. Emma cried harder with every letter. She was alive. Daniel carefully reached for the medical papers. His expression changed immediately. "Emma." She looked up. Daniel handed her a document from a psychiatric facility. "Patient, Lillian Harper. Status, long-term resident." Emma stared at the paper numbly. Admitted, not deceased. Her entire body went cold. She didn't die. And suddenly, everything Victor had ever told her began falling apart. Emma's hands shook so badly that the paper slipped onto the floor. Daniel crouched quickly to gather them, but his expression kept getting worse with every page he read. "Emma." "These dates." She wiped tears from her face. "What?" She was there for years. The room suddenly felt too small, too hot, too loud. Emma grabbed another document. Psychological evaluations, medication records, visitor denial forms. And then one sentence made her stomach twist. "Request to see daughter, denied by legal guardian." Emma's eyes widened. "Dad." Daniel looked at her carefully. "Your father kept her away from you." "No." But even as she said it, the truth was already sinking in. Every awkward silence, every angry reaction whenever she mentioned her mother, Every missing photograph, every locked drawer in the house she grew up in. Victor hadn't been grieving. He'd been hiding something. At the bottom of the box sat a small cassette recorder. Emma pressed play with trembling fingers. Static crackled softly. Then a weak female voice filled the apartment. If Emma is hearing this, then Clara found her. Emma stopped breathing. Her mother. It was her mother's voice. Older, fragile, but warm. I don't know what your father told you about me, the voice continued. But I need you to know something before anything else. A long pause. I never abandoned you. Emma covered her mouth as tears streamed down her face. I wrote to you every birthday, every Christmas. Every year, I prayed he would finally let me see you again. Daniel stared silently at the recorder. He told me you were dead, Emma whispered. The tape continued. I wasn't perfect. I got sick after you were born. I scared people. I scared myself. But I got better, Emma. I got better years ago. Emma broke down completely. Because for the first time in her life, she was hearing her mother speak directly to her, not as a memory, not as a story, but as a real person. Then the tape clicked off. Silence filled the apartment. Daniel finally spoke softly. Who's Clara? Emma immediately thought about the woman at the wedding, the trembling hands, the tears in her eyes, the way she touched her face like she had waited forever to do it. That woman, Daniel nodded slowly. We need to find her. That same night, Emma drove back to her childhood home. Rain hammered against the windshield the entire drive. When Victor opened the front door and saw her expression, his face immediately fell. You opened the box. Emma pushed past him without answering. Victor shut the door slowly behind her. Emma, you told me she died. Victor exhaled heavily. She was sick. That's not what I asked. She needed help. You lied to me for 26 years. Victor's composure cracked slightly. You don't understand what it was like. Emma threw the letters onto the table. She wrote to me every year. Victor looked at the envelopes and closed his eyes. She wasn't stable. She recovered. You don't know that. She said she did. Victor suddenly slammed his fist against the counter. You think a few letters erase what happened? Emma flinched. Victor's breathing became uneven. You were too young to remember, he said quietly. Your mother stopped sleeping, stopped eating. She talked to people who weren't there. One night, I woke up and found her standing over your crib crying hysterically because she thought someone was coming to take you. Emma stared silently. She needed serious help. Then why didn't you tell me the truth? Victor looked away. Because I wanted you to have a normal life. No, Emma said softly. You wanted control. Victor's eyes snapped toward her. You have no idea what I sacrificed for you. And Mom sacrificed nothing? Victor didn't answer. That silence said everything. Emma stepped backward slowly. How could you do that to her? Victor's voice broke for the first time. You think I'm proud of it? Emma's anger cracked beneath heartbreak. She died believing I hated her. Victor looked devastated suddenly. She never hated you. But I never loved her either. Because you erased her. Victor sat heavily in a chair, looking 20 years older. I thought keeping you away from her was protecting you. Emma shook her head through tears. You were protecting yourself. Then she walked out. Victor didn't stop her. The next morning, Daniel finally found Clara's address through records connected to the psychiatric facility, a small house near the edge of town. Old, quiet, almost hidden by overgrown trees. Emma's heart pounded as she knocked. Several seconds passed. Then the door opened slowly. Clara stood there, the same gray coat, the same sad eyes. But this time, she smiled gently. I wondered how long it would take. Emma immediately started crying again. "Why did you come to my wedding?" Clara looked emotional instantly. "Because your mother begged me to." Emma froze. "What?" Clara stepped aside quietly. "Come inside." The house smelled like old books and tea. Framed photographs covered the walls. Emma noticed several pictures of her mother immediately, laughing, painting, gardening, alive, not dead, alive. Emma's knees nearly gave out. "You knew her all these years?" Clara nodded. "I was her nurse when she first arrived." Emma looked around the room numbly. "My father said she was dangerous." Clara's face tightened. "She was sick. There's a difference." Daniel asked carefully, "Did she recover?" Clara looked directly at Emma. "Yes." The answer hit harder than Emma expected, because now there was no excuse left, no confusion, no gray area. Her father had known. "She spent years trying to see you," Clara continued softly. "Court hearings, letters, therapy evaluations. She fought harder than anyone I've ever known." Emma sat down slowly, overwhelmed. "Why didn't she come find me herself?" Clara's eyes filled with sadness. "Because your father made sure she couldn't." Then Clara walked to a nearby cabinet and removed a thick folder. Inside were legal documents, restraining requests, custody denials, psychiatric objections filed repeatedly by Victor. He told the court she was unstable even after doctors cleared her. Emma felt sick. He lied. He was afraid. Of what? Clara hesitated. Then finally, losing you. Emma looked down at the birthday letters in her lap. "She loved you so much," Clara whispered. "I need you to understand that." Clara walked toward an old television set in the corner. Beside it sat several VHS tapes. "She recorded these over the years, hoping one day you'd see them." Emma's breathing quickened. "There's more?" Clara nodded. "She talked to you constantly, even when she knew you couldn't hear her." Daniel gently squeezed Emma's hand. Clara inserted one of the tapes. Static filled the screen. Then suddenly, a younger version of Emma's mother appeared, smiling brightly into the camera. "Hi, sweetheart," she said softly. "Today, you turned 16. Emma instantly burst into tears again. Her mother laughed lightly on screen. "You probably think I forgot about you." Her eyes watered. "Not possible." The tape cut between different years, different birthdays, different messages, sometimes hopeful, sometimes devastated, but always full of love. Then one clip changed everything. Lillian looked noticeably weaker, paler, tired. "If you're finally watching this," she whispered, "then something must have happened to me." Emma covered her mouth. "I asked Clara to keep trying, even after I'm gone." "Gone." Emma looked at Clara slowly. Clara's eyes filled with tears. "She passed away 3 weeks before your wedding." Emma completely shattered. "No." She knew she was dying. Emma cried harder than she ever had in her life. "And her final wish," Clara continued carefully, "was to see you as a bride." Emma couldn't breathe. The room blurred around her as the weight of those words crushed straight through her chest. 3 weeks. Her mother had died only 3 weeks before the wedding, after spending 26 years trying to reach her. Emma bent forward, sobbing into her hands, while Daniel held her tightly beside the couch. Clara quietly paused the tape. "She made me promise something," Clara whispered. Emma looked up slowly through tears. "She said if she couldn't be there herself, then at least someone who loved her should see you walk down the aisle." Emma's entire body shook. "That's why you touched my face?" Clara nodded gently. "She used to do that to you when you were little." whenever you cried. Emma froze, because suddenly, something tiny surfaced inside her memory, warm fingers against her cheek, a woman humming softly, the faint smell of lavender. Emma broke down again. "Oh my God, she never stopped being your mother," Clara said softly. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Only the rain outside filled the silence. Then Emma asked the question she had been afraid to ask since opening the box. "Did she hate my father?" Clara sighed heavily. "No." Emma looked surprised. "She was hurt by him," Clara continued, "but she still loved the man he used to be." Daniel frowned slightly. "Used to be?" Clara stared toward the television quietly. "Your father wasn't always cruel." Emma listened silently. "When your mother first became sick, Victor was terrified. He barely slept. He stayed beside her constantly. He truly believed admitting her for treatment would save her." "Then what changed?" Emma asked. Clara's face darkened. "Control." The word landed hard. "He got used to being the decision-maker, the protector, the victim everyone sympathized with." Clara looked toward Emma carefully. "And eventually, letting your mother come back threatened the life he built." Emma stared blankly ahead. Everything she believed about her childhood now felt poisoned. Every birthday, every family dinner, every story Victor told her about her mother's tragic death. All lies. Daniel finally spoke. "Why send the box now?" Clara looked emotional again. "Because your mother made me promise I'd wait until after your wedding." A faint smile crossed her face. "She didn't want the truth ruining your happiest day." Emma immediately started crying again, even after everything. Her mother had still been thinking about protecting her feelings. Clara reached into a drawer beside the television and pulled out one final envelope. This was the last thing she wrote. Emma took it carefully. The handwriting was weaker than the others, more fragile. She opened it slowly. "If you're reading this, sweetheart, then I didn't make it long enough to hold you again. But please don't let your heart fill with hatred. Pain destroys enough people already. I loved your father once, and despite everything, part of me always understood why he was afraid. But fear can make people selfish. Promise me something. Don't spend your life looking backward the way we did. Be happy. Love fully. And never wonder for 1 second if your mother loved you. Because I loved you every day. Until my very last one." Emma cried so hard she could barely finish reading. Daniel wiped tears from his own eyes quietly. Clara looked away to hide hers. That night, Emma didn't go home. She drove alone for nearly 2 hours with no destination. Every memory from childhood kept replaying differently now. Victor teaching her to ride a bike. Victor cheering at her graduation. Victor comforting her after nightmares. Had any of it been real? Or had her entire life simply been built on guilt and manipulation? Around midnight, Emma finally parked outside the cemetery address Clara had given her. Rain still poured from the sky as she walked through rows of gravestones. Then she saw it. Lillian Harper, beloved mother. Emma collapsed to her knees instantly. "No!" The grave looked fresh. The flowers beside it were still alive. Emma stared at the name through tears. This was the woman who wrote her letters every birthday. The woman who watched old videos of her daughter growing up from a distance. The woman who spent decades hoping for forgiveness she never needed to ask for. And now, she was gone.
Before Emma could stop herself, anger suddenly exploded inside her. She stood up abruptly and drove straight to Victor's house. The lights were still on when she arrived. Victor opened the door slowly. One look at Emma's face told him everything. "You saw her grave." Emma shoved him backward, hard enough to make him stumble. You let me believe she abandoned me. Victor's eyes filled immediately. Emma, she waited for me. Victor looked destroyed. I know. You stole my entire life from her. She was unstable. She recovered. Victor's voice cracked loudly. And what if she didn't? Silence. Heavy, ugly silence. Victor ran both hands over his face. You didn't see what I saw. Emma stared at him coldly. Then tell me. Victor's breathing became uneven. For months after you were born, your mother changed. His voice trembled. She stopped recognizing people sometimes. She accused neighbors of spying on us. She thought doctors wanted to hurt you. Emma listened silently. One night I came home and found every mirror in the house covered because she believed cameras were hidden inside them. Victor sat down heavily. I was terrified every second. Emma's anger softened slightly, but not enough. She needed help, she whispered. I know, Victor shouted suddenly. I know that! The room fell silent again. Victor looked broken now, not powerful, not controlling, just old and exhausted. I thought treatment would fix everything, he said quietly. And for a while, I truly intended to bring her home. Emma crossed her arms tightly. But? Victor stared blankly ahead. People started treating me differently after she was admitted. He swallowed hard. They pitied me, supported me, praised me for raising you alone. Emma looked disgusted. So you enjoyed it? Victor closed his eyes. At first, I told myself I was protecting you. His voice cracked again. Then, eventually, I realized I was protecting myself more. Emma's eyes filled instantly. Victor looked up at her with tears running down his face. I'm sorry. For years, Emma imagined hearing those words, but now that they finally came, they meant nothing. You don't get to be sorry now. Victor broke completely. I loved her. Emma shook her head. No, you loved controlling her. Victor cried openly. I was afraid she'd take you away. She would have shared me, not stolen me. Victor had no response, because she was right. Emma looked around the house she grew up in. Suddenly it felt unfamiliar, empty, like every wall held secrets. Then her eyes landed on a locked cabinet near the fireplace. The same cabinet Victor never allowed her to touch as a child. Emma walked toward it slowly. Victor immediately stood. Emma! She opened it. Inside were hundreds of photographs, albums, drawings, Mother's Day cards. Every single thing her mother had ever sent her. All hidden, all kept. Emma stared at them in horror. Victor's voice trembled behind her. I couldn't throw them away. Emma picked up one photo carefully. Her mother smiling beside a Christmas tree, holding a sign that read, For Emma, Christmas 2007. Emma finally understood something terrifying. Victor never truly erased Lillian because he couldn't. He had spent decades trapped between guilt and selfishness, and now there was nothing left except regret. Weeks later, Emma returned to the cemetery wearing the same white coat she wore the night she first met Clara. This time she brought flowers and her wedding photograph. She placed both gently beside the grave. Then she sat quietly in the grass. I'm sorry I didn't find you sooner, she whispered. Wind moved softly through the trees. For the first time in her life, Emma spoke to her mother like she was real. Not a ghost, not a tragedy. A real woman, a woman who loved her. Emma smiled through tears. "You were there," she whispered softly, "at my wedding." And somehow, that thought healed something inside her. If this story moved you, don't leave without liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and commenting one thing you would have done differently if you were Emma. Because sometimes the people we trust most are the ones hiding the truth that changes everything.